Welcome to another episode of the GSP, the Good Sugar Podcast. I am Ralph Sutton. With me, as always, Marcus Antebi. From the emails that we get, a little bit about the show. It's about me trying to be better. I think is the best way. Both of us trying to be better. We bring on health and wellness people. We talk it out amongst ourselves. Most of the reviews and emails I get, which is nice to see because it's been happening more lately because the show has been growing pretty well, where they say it's like a no-nonsense, straightforward health and wellness show, which that's the vibe we're going for. So I'm pretty happy with that.
Well, it's weird because we started off as a political show that dealt mostly with gay and lesbian issues and QAnon. Yeah, and QAnon, and how did we segue into health and wellness with you? It's really
wild. So a couple of things. These I just want to kind of like it's like an update or
that was a joke, by the way, for anyone new listening, that we didn't start off as a political show.
Yeah, this is kind of, I just want to make that clear. Yeah, I hope people have figured that out already. This is kind of like a where we are now kind of episode, which I think is important because we haven't done this in a while, if ever. I think last month, and Brian, our producer, could correct me, I think it was the best month we ever had listenership. So thank you very much for that. I'm starting to get reach outs on Instagram for people that want to be guests, which I think is cool. A guy that was a New York wellness guy for homeless people reached out to me, and he had a story on CNN and a story in a few other newspapers, and he wanted to come on, and it's just nice to see that. Also happened twice already, which really makes me happy. Two different women reached out, said, I've been following your fitness journey on Good Sugar and on your Instagram, and I'm wondering if you're single, which I think that's pretty cool also. That means that we're hitting the right mode, we're hitting the right market. Nothing?
No, I'm trying to think of the ins and outs of that.
It's just pretty wild. It happened twice so far.
It's a little, yeah. I mean,
which makes me happy. I think those are nice.
I'm glad.
So that's showing me that we are along the right path in that we're reaching the people who get what we're trying to do here. And on that topic, I have a few things I want to talk about, and then I'd like to hear the status of you, the status of the actual Good Sugar brick and mortar, etc. But I want to get these out first. One of the things that I've realized that I think Good Sugar has done for me is not just working on myself physically, but trying to be in a better headspace mentally, right? Where things don't get to me and I don't get too angry and things like that, or just trying to do better as well. So I'm going to give you two examples of this. One is, which I normally would never even consider, and lately I've just found myself compelled to do it every so often, is you see a homeless person, and I always acknowledge and say, sorry, I don't have anything on me. But lately I've been trying to give them money or food, usually food. I try and go get food and give them food, right? Someone is saying to me, so I was in the street yesterday, a guy right a block from my house, and he says, can you help me get some food? I said, I'll be right back. And I went to the pizza shop. I got him 2 slices of pizza, came back to him. I said, here you go, buddy. And then he goes, oh, I have no teeth. Which is weird.
You went to the dentist and you got him some teeth.
It just was weird. Like, so you didn't really want food. You could have said, can you get me some easily slurpable food or something along those lines? But he said, can you help me get some food? I think he wasn't really looking for food. But regardless, I went home and had a slice of pizza. What are you going to do? But I had a crazy thing happen to me yesterday where I really believe the meditation and the better outlook on life really helped me. I don't know if you know what Zipcar is. Do you know what that is?
Is it the rental cars?
It's rental cars by the hour, right? I haven't used it since pre-pandemic, so for 2 years, and I'm assuming a lot of people haven't based on what happened yesterday. I went to go rent a car at 4 p.m. on 11th Street and 2nd Avenue near my house. I get there, and the guy says, oh, this car hasn't worked for a month. So I called Zipcar, explained what happened. They said, oh, we've got you a car on 6th Avenue and 13th Street. You can go there. We'll pay for the Uber over there. Okay, I go there. I get there. That guy says, this car, we lost the keys 2 months ago. We've told them, which is crazy. Now I'm 40 minutes late for where I need to be. They find a car on 67th and 3rd. I then Uber over there and get in a car finally 90 minutes later, right? And now I went to my thing with my brother 90 minutes later than I should have been. Normally, I would be freaking out. I would be getting super angry, even though like it's not a life or death situation. If I'm a little late to where we're going, it's not the worst thing in the world. And I was able to, which I don't think Ralphie of 2 years ago could do, it just started like laughing at the situation. Like, man, this is crazy. I said, I feel bad for Zipcar. They're probably having some financial problems. And I just took a step back and was able to just laugh at the situation and just be okay with it.
Well, finish the story.
That's it. That's the story. I didn't get angry. I didn't get crazy.
Well, I think how I relate to that in the last 2 years, 3 years, is that what changed for me dramatically is that I'm really, really practicing yoga and the meditation of yoga in the yoga. I'm practicing it with the intention of really learning what rises for me in reactions to the difficulty of a posture, especially if I'm in a blazing hot room like today in the morning. And, you know, I push really hard on all the postures, and you come out of a posture and I'm just like dizzy looking straight forward in the mirror, and I'm trying to keep my composure, and I want to make sure that I don't fidget, and I want to make sure that I'm not fixing and wiping my sweat and losing my concentration. And after practicing like that for about 3 years, what I realized is that to the external world, you wouldn't notice a single difference in anything that I was doing. You would actually think that I was enjoying myself. I was like a gymnast because I got a little bit of a smile on my face. I'm doing the postures really, really well. But inside, I feel like I was in a fun house in one of the postures. The mirror was wobbling and the floor was wobbling. And then all this other stuff comes up about something someone said to me a week ago, and this week's going to be rough. And I'm not reacting. And I think I actually write about this a lot, about the transition from how helpless I was in certain periods of my life to my reactions. It was almost just like things happened and I just react. And there's a lot to be said about that. There's a lot to be said about the need to learn how to control our reactions, to change our reactions, to have the right reactions. In other words, if you suffer a loss, someone you love dies, it's not about not crying. I don't mean controlling your reactions. It's about actually, in that case, to have that reaction like, oh, I'm sad and I want to cry and I want to grieve. So yeah, I think that what you're experiencing, because you're doing all these different practices, is you're gaining some maturity with how you react to things. You're choosing to not be miserable, because remember, yes, you could be miserable about Zipcar and their schmucks and their shit and their garbage and just get angry and all that stuff like that. But at the end of the day, that ruins your day.
Right. And I realized also, unfortunately, this is a little bit of my unfortunate reality, is I realized I had to get into that space to bitch at Zipcar to get my money back for the 3 Ubers I had to take, because I spent $60 in Ubers. And there was an interesting experiment somebody did, which I saw this online a year ago or so, where a guy had a box painted in the street, right? And he was wearing looked like a handyman or like a worker outfit, right? And as some people walking by, he was saying very kindly, please don't step in the box. When you walk by, please don't step in the box. And people ignored him. But if he said, refrain from the box area, please. Please stay away from the box area, like authoritative, nobody stepped in the box, right? So for some reason, most people do react to a little stronger tone, right? So I knew that if I called Zipcar and said, hey, this was kind of inconvenient for me, can you get me the Ubers covered? They probably wouldn't have done it. So I did take a moment to get into angry man mode and got my not only my 3 Ubers covered, but actually got the Zipcar completely comped for the whole day, and then fine. But it was more me in an acting mode than really believing that, if that makes any sense.
It does. I think aside from that, doing what you got to do, I think it's more important to recognize how easily we get distracted by things that happen to us on a daily basis. And distracted from what? What is it that we're getting distracted from? I think for myself that what I get distracted from is I get distracted from just simply being in the present moment, being where I am. It's something happens and I could be thinking about the past or lost in the future. And the worst one of all is all these bubbles pop up in my head. All these thought bubbles pop up, and I get lost in an ocean of pointless thought.
Right. Well, I want to say in that
discomfort.
My brother's in town for a few days. His friend owns a restaurant upstate, so we're taking a car like up to Nyack in a beautiful area, gonna have a good food. And I was like, why am I gonna let this nonsense ruin this? We're still getting to do it. That's what's more important. The fact that we're incompetent and screwed this up is not. I should not let that affect the rest of my night. So literally, like for a second, I was starting. By the third, when I reached the third lot, I was not in a good mood. I got to be honest with you. It was hot as hell yesterday. I was uncomfortable. I was sweating. But I was like, all right, look, it's work. I'm getting a car. What's the big deal? Well, it just started laughing about it and moved on.
Very zen.
Yeah, I felt very zen.
I think for the point of people understanding this thing better, what we're talking about, I would say is that there's a time and there's a place to be agitated and feel anxious. It's a normal reaction. Anxiety is a normal state. It's actually, I watch it in newborn children. You take the baby away from the mom, you could watch physically. They get anxious, they have a reaction, they cry. You bring the child back to the mom, they relax. It's the same thing for us as grown-ups. So there's a time and there's a place. You can't just literally walk around and be completely neutral unless that's your meditation. You could walk down the street and bullets are flying and you could just keep your hands clasped in prayer and say, nothing is going to faze me. And that's okay too. But that's not realistic for most people. It's really just getting control over the reaction and not letting the reaction have control over you.
I could not agree more. And I think I've used this analogy on the show before, but just to reiterate it, it's like when somebody cuts you off in the street, you can get angry and say, that motherfucker, it's about me. He cut me off because he's an asshole. Or that guy's late to his kid's graduation, has no idea what's going on with me, doesn't even realize he cut me off, and it's nothing personal, and just move on. And that's the right way to look at you. You're creating either narrative in your head. There's no way to know which one's true. But anyway, to move on.
Wait, I just want to say the advanced practice of this is, because now we're talking about a couple of events like a car thing not working out or someone cutting you off in your car. Those things are very impersonal. So the advanced practice is to bring that concept into your very personal life where the stakes are much higher. In your relationships with your partner, in your relationships at work, where reactions are triggered and we feel much more threatened and much more terrified, or it touches upon a childhood wound. Again, being able to see how I'm reacting, to breathe through it, to get back into the calm mind. I want to come back to this after you talk about your things. I want to talk about certain things that I do to make sure that I can actually control my thinking.
I think you should do that right now. Why not? Okay. We'll continue the thought. So I have a question about that, by the way. Can I ask you one without you losing your side?
Yes.
So it's funny because in America, and I literally talked about this with my brother this morning, there's a theory that, like, if you think something good's going to happen, let's say you're going to get a new job, there's a girl that you like, or whatever it is, think something good is going to happen, but you don't know for sure, you think something good is going to happen. There's a theory in America, don't get your hopes up because you never know, it may not happen. It'd be nice to happen, but don't get your hopes up, right? Just hope for the best, but don't start cashing those checks, so to speak. You know what I mean? It's a very common thought in the United States.
Count your chickens before they hatch?
Yeah, but in Russia, and I only know this because I've dated a lot of Russian women in my life, I don't know how the proverb translates exactly, but the concept is, no, allow yourself to be happy, because if it doesn't happen, at least you had that time where you were happy. Either way, the end result is you're going to be unhappy, but you had some time where you were happy about it.
Right. Well, I think that the custom in Tibet would be to just stay in the present moment and be happy no matter what.
Well, ideally, but I'm saying, but when you're given a nugget of potential good news, you
got to hear the ideal. You got to hear the ideal, and you got to work for it.
But I feel the ideal means you never change. You're just, nothing affects you.
Impossible. The only way that nothing could affect you is if you were in complete denial. You had nothing.
Or you're a sociopath.
No. There's a lot of. Well, actually, this is common sense. There's a lot of things that a person can do. Someone could actually have no possessions, no attachments, no relationships. They live in a cave. They meditate 6 hours a day. They're just constantly chanting and practicing. And you can't say that what they're doing is wrong because it's for them. It may be the only thing they ever knew. You can say that that person under those circumstances is always in the same state of grace. They're in the present moment. Maybe we don't know. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter because we don't do that, and we're probably not going to be moving towards that. So I wanted to just talk about something that's a practical way to begin to get control over some of the thoughts and the reactions that we have.
Go ahead.
And it's really, it's a mechanical process. And I actually figured this out on my own. I didn't read this anywhere. I'm sure it's obviously in all the text that talks about yoga and breathing, because everybody is familiar with meditation, and they always put the emphasis on the breathing, and the same thing with yoga. But what you don't realize is it's actually a very big part of American boxing, jiu-jitsu, gymnastics, any sport where a person is extremely focused and concentrated and exerting themselves. They're always taught proper breathing exercises. Mm-hmm. What you have to understand is that when we become anxious, we tense. And if we've been anxious for a very long period of our life since our childhood, it's likely that our current state of existence is just tension. And when we're tense, we restrict the breath.
Okay.
We breathe less. We take shorter breaths. Sometimes we skip breaths. We actually hold our breath. When the primary nutrient for the brain to function intelligently, to function at all, actually, you'll die very quickly without oxygen. The primary nutrient is oxygen.
Right.
And so when you restrict your breathing, you're getting less oxygen to the brain.
It is funny, by the way, that it is inherently wired in us. Like when you're doing a heavy exercise, like push-ups or whatever it is, your instinct is to hold your breath. And when you realize, when you continue to breathe, how much easier and fluid the motions are,
right?
It's odd that the instinct first is to hold your breath.
You know what? I don't know. I'd have to think about that. I'm not sure that that's my instinct in an exercise, but maybe if you're saying that's your instinct.
For sure it is.
And I think when you're exerting yourself, there's something else taking place. I'm just talking about when a person is just sitting and watching TV and they see something on the news and it makes them anxious and they restrict their breathing. And then by the time the news is over, they're actually in a very deep state of anxiety.
Right. I mean, anytime it's very common, something crazy happens, you go, right. You're immediately breathing in.
Right. So one of the reasons why it's really important to become conscious about that moment when you're having a feeling of anxiety, to take long, deep breaths through the nose, not through the mouth, through the nose. We'll talk about that after, why there's a difference. To take 4 or 5 long breaths, 6 seconds in, 6 seconds out, is because when you oxygenate your brain properly, it's what's going to happen is you're going to be able to come from a rational thinking place versus where you go with shortness of breath, which is you're in fight or flight when you're in that state, because that's the most obvious place that you can come from. Fight or flight, simple. You're going back into your archaic brain. There's a third place that we go, you never hear talk about it, which is in modern time, is some people it's fight or flight, but some people it's freeze. They do nothing. And so when you feel yourself having the slightest amount of anxiety building up for yourself, for your own self-preservation, take long, deep breaths through the nose. Don't make it obvious. You don't have to be an idiot about it. You don't have to add any extra, if you want to chant or if you want to do holding your breath, or breath retention, or breathing just to the left, then to the right. That's all just a practice to get someone to breathe. Just breathe.
It's amazing how much
you'll see
taking that moment, taking that beat makes a difference. It literally did that yesterday. Literally what happened to me.
It works. My 14-year-old daughter, she's very smart, very sensitive, and she lives in a society now where they talk about anxiety. It's an illness. It's whatever it is. It's not an illness at all. It's a state of mind, no different than enlightenment. It's just on a different end of the spectrum. It's a normal experience. When she tells me today, this and that happened, And instead of reacting, I just took a minute to take 3 long, deep breaths. And then just suddenly I felt better. And instead of doing this, I sat down and I read a book. And that's a really good practice to start when you're young. It makes a huge difference. I wish I had that as a tool when I was younger.
On that note, to go back a little bit, so what I've been doing, as you know, prescribed by Dr. Marcus, is to meditate. I was doing 3 minutes a day.
Don't insult me. Don't insult me.
Is that insulting?
Doctor, hell, well,
it's a compliment. What do you mean?
Doctors.
How is that bad? How did you take that bad? It's weird that you would take that bad.
I'm kidding. I don't take that bad at all. It's actually it's a high compliment. But I think since I'm not a doctor, the higher compliment would be something else that's more thoughtful. I don't ever want to be called Guru, Sri, Satguru, Mahayogi.
How about my friend
stuff.
Marcus?
I prefer doctor. On that
There you go.
Yeah.
So I've been doing 3 minutes.
How about no title?
No title, Marcus?
No.
So
no.
I've talked about this a couple weeks ago. I've been expanding my morning routine, right? So it used to just do the 3 minutes of meditation. Then it was 3 minutes and some like yoga poses, right? Then it's 3 minutes, some yoga poses and push-ups and push-ups. Then it's 3 minutes yoga, push-ups, sit-ups. And so now I have about a 20-minute morning routine that I feel pretty comfortable doing every morning, right? As soon as I get up, it doesn't seem ominous because I've
7 days a week?
6 days a week. Sundays I don't do it.
What are you God resting on the 7th day?
No, but I'll tell you exactly the reason. Saturdays is my longest run day, which really takes a lot out of me. And I just feel it's better to do nothing on Sunday. I haven't hurt myself yet, never running until I was 50. And I feel maybe I'm wrong, giving the body 1 day of complete rest.
Absolutely. I don't say complete rest because you have to remember.
I'm still getting up and walking around and doing things.
We live, our consciousness is slightly in a dream, and the risk of forgetting what you're trying to accomplish with your self-help practice, it's too great by taking off completely any days of the week. You could modify what you're doing. You don't have to run a marathon 7 days a week, but on your 7th day, you might say, you know what, today I'm just going to read, straighten out my apartment. Maybe I'll do 5 minutes of meditation.
Well, there's certain things like that I do. They seem like doing
perfect
and religiously anyway. You know,
it's all the same thing. It's a regimen of positive transactions that you do to stay in the flow.
Right, I agree, but I just feel like as far as like I would look at any extra, I look at this as part of my, and maybe I should look at all of it as part of my wellness. But I don't do that whole thing that I do when I get up. It starts with making the bed, you know, going to the bathroom, and then all that stuff. Have a coffee, have the juice, have the pills.
You make your bed 7 days a week?
Say again?
You make your bed 7 days
immediately when I get up 7 days a week. The first thing I do.
All right, so that you're saying this. We're saying exactly the same thing.
Right. And I also, by the way, straighten my apartment, do the dishes, do the laundry, throw out the garbage 2-3 days a week. I want anybody that's ever been in my apartment will tell you it's immaculate all the time.
Kick out the strippers. The strippers.
Exactly. But I've decided this, and I've increased my running from, I used to do, lucky if I did 3 miles a week, to the most I was now. I had to rebuild after I got COVID because I got sick, but I do a 4, a 7, and a 10, which is, I think, 21 miles off the top of my head, 21 miles a week of running, and 3 days a week of training with a trainer. And I do 3 days of yoga and 3 days of Peloton as well, right? But now I'm going to, starting this Monday, I'm increasing that meditation by a minute, from 3 to 4 minutes every morning.
Right.
That's my big decision.
The main thing that you have to remember at the start of this show, your problem was that you, throughout your life, you are a self-actuated guy. You get shit done on your own. You're self-motivated guy, but then you have a setback, classically, whatever it could be, and then you fall off the wagon, so to speak, and you go back into being lazy, for lack of a better word, or you just stop the routine. We're creatures of habits. And so now the only thing that you have to do for the rest of your life until you die is don't stop. Just keep doing what you're doing. Yeah. You're going to have to modify because you can't run 21 miles a day, most likely.
Not a day, a week.
74.
A week.
But you just be prepared. Listen, this is important. Be mentally prepared for that in your mind. That it's not so much, it's not important the miles. It's not important what the discipline is. What the importance is that you're keeping the body in motion.
Right. By the way, I don't even care.
Period.
I don't even care about the fact that my time isn't like my trainer's time is almost half mine. I don't care. What do you want? He's, I've never ran. It's funny because I said to him, I'm about to realize by next week I'll have run 1,000 miles in 2021. Right. And he said, I don't think I've run 1,000 miles in the past 5 years. And I said, I haven't run up until I was 50. I never ran a mile, which is crazy, But then I want to tell you, there's this last two things that all of this combined. Yesterday, I hit a goal that really I don't weigh myself that often because I feel it could have negative repercussions. And you're also, when you're weighing yourself, you don't know what you're weighing. You could have put on more muscle. You could have more water weight. There's so many, the different time of the day, whatever. There's too many factors. It's not an exact science. And even on a digital scale these days, you get on the same scale 3 times and get 3 different results. It's not a perfect science, right? So I don't like to do it that often. But up until my dad got sick, which was 5 years ago, I was never in great shape, but I remember religiously saying, never get over 250 pounds. You're 6'5", never be more than 250. And most of my life, I hovered between 235 and 245, give or take, right? Fast forward to the pandemic starting, I was 318, which is enormous. Right? It is enormous.
318?
318 was the most I ever saw on the scale. I just want to figure
out how many. Wow.
By the way, it could have been more. It could have been more, but that's the most I ever saw on the scale. I may have added more before I started. I don't know. So it could have been 320. It could have been more. I don't know.
Well, you're tall, big bone guy. What is your ideal weight according to those charts?
I think 235. 235. Right?
All right.
235, 240. But so my 318, 320, and now it's a year since I started running, since we started the show. And yesterday I got into the 250s. I'm 259, but I'm into the 250s. I weighed myself 3 times, 259.
Right.
So that means I lost 60 pounds in the past year, which is pretty amazing.
That's amazing.
And I got about 20 more to go.
Stay off the scale.
Yeah, of course. By the way, I agree with you.
Stay off the scale, man.
I'm not going back on the scale anytime soon. I just wanted to do it for my own curiosity.
No, you know what? Here and there, I get it.
I can tell you, by the way, hold on. I'm gonna pull it up. I'm sorry.
Competition is important.
Hold on. I'm going to look it up because I'm curious. When was the last time I weighed myself prior to yesterday?
You keep track of that?
It's someone, Shannon got me.
While you're doing that, I want to tell you.
May was the last time.
And I actually have, it's interesting that I recalled to do this at the end of the book that I wrote, The Good Sugar Diet, which is dense. There's so much stuff in there, a lot of stuff. By the time I was getting ready, I really thought I covered everything. I was like, wow, I should talk about scales a little bit. So I wrote a chapter that I thought was informed. And my experience with scales when I used to fight competitive Thai boxing, you have to weigh in the day of or the night before a fight, and how we would manipulate things. So in other words, I would either fight at 140 pounds or 147. My normal walk around weight is about 165. Okay. And I was pretty muscular and wasn't overweight at 165. I was just, dense. So for about 6 to 8 weeks, you're basically doing some really tricky stuff to your metabolism, which ages you faster. It's not the right way to live. You're eating 300 calorie meals 6 times a day, 1,800 calories. You're working out 3-4 hours a day, doing lots of cardio. And then 48 hours before weigh-in, the night when you go to sleep, 48 hours before, you're drinking tons of water so that your body doesn't retain water. And then I think about 24 hours before you weigh in, you stop drinking water and you don't need any food, and you're basically peeing a lot and you're basically drying yourself out, and it's exhausting. And I on the 140 fights, I would never make weight. I would get on the scale and I'd be a pound or 2 over. And I had done everything humanly possible. On the way to the weigh-in, 3 or 4 guys in the car would be literally trying to get rid of weight, spitting in a cup, thinking saliva would make a difference. And every time I had to do 140 pounds, I would have to bring a plastic or like those rubber suits.
Right. And you're right.
Go in a sauna, run the treadmill, and skip rope. Usually take me 2 hours to just absolutely starch myself out where there's no water left. 140. make weight, and then that's like, say, a Friday. It's unbelievable that on Sunday, let's say the fight was on Friday or Saturday, I'd get on a scale and I could be back up at 175.
It's crazy.
Isn't that nuts?
Yeah, it's also, by the way, I know you hear a lot about this.
Show, by the way.
Weigh-ins should be day of because it's too easy to manipulate the scale.
Weigh-ins should be day of. It depends on a lot of factors, like how big of a show. Sometimes they can't get everybody to weigh in. Sometimes fighters who are cutting so much weight are really excited to have a extra day to recover because you're so
right. But I'm saying because they want to get rid of the crazy cutting that people do.
It doesn't matter. I mean, look, it's all in people's mind. If you walk around at 180 and you cut down to 160, you're still gonna punch like a 180 fighter. It doesn't, it's really more to make the fights equal. Anyway, that has nothing to do with this show.
All right. So anyway, that just wanted to say that I did hit a goal, sort of, that I can't believe I've lost that much weight. 259. So the goal really is like 235. So I got to get, it's not that much more to go. It's like 20 pounds to go roughly, and give or take. So I'm very excited.
Don't do any.
I'm not changing anything.
I'm saying don't do any manipulations to your chemistry because what classically comes from gym people who really are trying to get immediate results or, look a certain way, be cut, be shredded, all the stuff that you do to tamper with your chemistry, people think that speeding up their metabolism, they hear that, it sounds like, wow, I'm going to get the machine to burn more efficiently. Just remember, if you speed up your metabolism, basically you're just making your organs work harder than they need to. And that has an aging effect on you. You'll be a little bit thinner, but you might wrinkle faster. You might be tired
and also
faster.
I think it won't last as long. I just think I look at realistically a pound and a half a week through healthy diet and eating right and working out regularly seems to be what's been happening with me for the past year.
You can't keep the same body type 365 days a year if you live in continental climate like New York. Your body, you can have the exact same diet. When it becomes cold, your body will convert things into fat more easily because it knows what it needs to do. And it's different for you in the summer. And, also in the winter, you might be 35% less active.
Right.
And so, the body types that we keep are they're unrealistic.
And I also feel that I did run 9 miles yesterday. So that was a lot of water weight that sweated out when I weighed myself.
Absolutely. You'll drink it right back.
Yeah. So then lastly, and this is more of it's a question, and I don't know the answer to this.
I love questions.
And I'm curious what you think the answer to this is, because I don't know. Okay. Of all the things I've been trying to do over this past year, I've stuck with a lot of them, right? Which is running, working out, eating is one of them, meditation, blah, 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 right? The one that I've been able to keep above all else is running. Like, but beyond anything else, I have not missed a run in rain, in 19-degree weather, in snow. I did it I've not missed a run. The only time I've missed anything was when I got COVID, I couldn't run. And when I cut my foot at a pool, I couldn't run. Other than that, I've not missed a run. I never once said, you know what, fuck, I don't feel like running today. I'll do it another day. Never once, right? Why do you think I'm having such a difficult time with the one barrier left for me, which is food? I cannot break that habit. I can't, no matter what I do.
First of all, stop being negative. I wouldn't say that you're in some kind of crazy blackout binge, right?
No, I don't do that, but I do.
Okay,
will still have bread, have desserts here and there.
Okay, so the first thing to make it really easy, Ralph, is that if you don't do certain work on yourself, you're not going to get a result that you want. It's just not going to happen. You don't make progress that way without doing work. Look at all this other work you're doing on yourself, and you're getting a result. So the first thing you got to look at is to say, what work am I missing? What am I not doing? First of all, I wouldn't be hard on yourself. I would just say, look, that's a hard thing. I'm going to accomplish it. I'm going to get this. I'm going to do it. I'm going to create a goal. So what I would do if I were you is I would spend a lot of time, and you're going to hate this.
Journaling.
Let's take out the word journal. Find a way for you to understand the complex relationship that you have with food. Sustenance. It's an absolutely unbelievably complex relationship that we take for granted. We take it for granted how, besides breathing and just being safe, the next thing we think about is sustenance, food. What are we going to eat? And think about how it controls our moods, our energy levels, our pleasure, our frustration, our fears. It's there. It's a part of your brain. And so this stuff that you're talking about, these last vestiges, it's hardwired into your brain. You associate that stuff with pleasure, and pleasure is something that you need. And so what you have to do is you got to figure out how to disconnect yourself from that stuff. And it's not.
I don't know if I want to disconnect myself from the pleasure I get from food, though.
You don't have to disconnect yourself from the pleasure you get from food. You have to change what gives you pleasure in food.
Well, let me say this, though. The healthiest food in the world gives me true pleasure. Like, I could have a salad and be like, oh my God, this salad is phenomenal. I love everything about it.
First of all, you're a refined sugar addict to a degree, even though you're not, I wouldn't look, I know some people are really bad, right? And certainly you could see how susceptible a 7-year-old boy, for example, is to processed sugar. When they hear that bell, the Good Humor truck coming, it's literally, they're focused. They have.
By the way, I would say I just saw a TikTok video yesterday where a little girl walks by wallpaper, and the wallpaper was ice cream cones, and she started trying to lick the wall.
Right.
That's an addiction.
So refined sugar is a tremendous, powerful addiction. It's unbelievable. It's up there with the top 4 hardest substances in the world to stop.
How long do you think, if I were able to sustain it before that craving subsides?
I could not guess that from here because there's a huge emotional and psychological.
Could you guess it from across the street?
No, come on, being serious, right? Physically, you'd be done with the addiction in a week. Physically. Mm-hmm. As long as you're getting enough calories from a broad spectrum of plant-based foods, you're not going to fix your addiction eating more protein. In fact, if anything, your cravings will go up because you crave protein more, you'll crave the other stuff. Mm-hmm. So that's complicated chemistry. But if you said, hey, you know what? Every day I'm eating 2 pieces of fruit. I'm having a stuff that's in season. I'm going to eat the stone fruits because that's where all the antioxidants are. Boom. I had a big peach. It's 2:00. I'm having an apple. Tomorrow I'm eating some watermelon. Thursday I'm eating banana, whatever. You're getting that sugar that your body needs. You can't do this running that you're doing on a high protein diet. You will be flat. I'm sorry.
Right.
Your body needs the instant access to the natural carbohydrates that are in the fruits and starchy vegetables.
By the way, on that, I'm sorry, there's something I really needed to ask you it's about that. I'm so sorry. But when I run, I drink these things that are like electrolyte, sugar, energy replacers because you're right. There's got to be a healthier one than what I'm eating.
Listen, I mean, come on. To an extreme athlete doing unbelievable things with their body who's very, very in tune and they're just pushing the body to the max red line, you know what? They might actually be able to tell you, yes, I took that thing and man, did that give me the last thing that I needed.
For me, I noticed a difference. I definitely noticed a difference.
Well, you notice a difference for sure because there's calories in it.
Right.
Okay, Jesus, we need energy.
I can't run holding an apple. I can't run holding an apple.
No, but you can train yourself to be loaded up before. Your body's not.
But then I'm going to want to shit myself. I'm being honest. Like, you know,
what do you mean?
Like I don't want to load up on calories before I leave the door. I'm going to feel weighted.
Okay, everybody's different, but you train your body to do what you want it to do. Your body doesn't train you. So whatever makes sense, right? You can't, in a 26-mile marathon, they say it's what you ate the night before that gives you the juice. So you understand the concept.
Right.
So mentally, if you find yourself getting hunger cravings, it might simply not be that you're hungry at all. It could be that you're thirsty. Hunger begins in the back of the throat with thirst, and your brain usually doesn't know the difference. So you have to make sure that you're hydrating properly before, during, and after. And you have to just say, I'm okay. I'm not going to die. It's not like I didn't eat for 3 months or 2 weeks or whatever. You're a very well nourished guy. So I would concentrate more on what you're eating the day before and make sure that you feel full and make sure that you're getting enough calories. And there's no avoiding this. You've got to eat fruit in the activity. 21 miles a day.
On a day, enough of the day. It's a week.
I'm sorry. 21 miles in a week is still tremendous athleticism. You cannot do that athleticism well without having a decent amount of fruit and starchy vegetables as part of your diet. Sweet potatoes, beet. I'm just giving you a couple of examples. I know that you probably eat a very wide bouquet of food. So your problem isn't that you're what do they call those? The mono eaters, where you just eat one thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You eat a lot of different things, right?
Absolutely.
And do you let's say, for example, when you go shopping, do you always try to buy one new thing that you don't have on a regular basis, like dandelion or sometimes chard, or here's an exotic fruit?
I just try to always get some varied salads that I don't have, right, or some fruits that I don't have. But no, not like a conscious effort.
I would make a point of trying to do this at least 3 times a week. Eat something from the plant kingdom that you don't normally have, whether it's radishes. Just look at something that's in season. Who cares that much if it's out of season? Because we're in New York, and quite frankly, if you ate a diet where you were trying to be in season, you would be very limited to what's in season 6 months out of the year.
Right. Agreed.
Did I?
It's a good idea. I agree.
Let me just give you a program to follow about these dietary things that you're talking about.
Okay.
The way to wean yourself off these things is to find the healthy counterparts.
What I've been doing, by the way, I'm getting bananas, grapes, blueberries, things that
you could also, if you like ice cream, as an example, go find a non-dairy, something that's very clean. It's the cleanest it's going to get probably is it's going to be sweetened with coconut sugar, not white refined sugar, which is much worse. No dairy, so it's not inflammatory to you. And you can say, you know what? I just ran my ass off, and I'm going to have 1 tablespoon. Get that sugar, get that taste, feel it, get that so you don't feel deprived. And slowly what you could do more than most people is wean yourself off. Other people have to go cold turkey because out of sight, out of mind.
Right.
It's just,
okay.
It's different for different people.
By the way, if there's one, not right now, but off air, if you could text me an ice cream brand that you recommend, I'd try it. You know what I mean? One Jacko's vegan ice cream. I feel like you're making it all up right now, Jack.
No, you know what? You go to a coconut bliss.
Oh, I know that.
These things are so widely distributed now.
Yeah, that's right. It's easy to find.
In 7-Eleven at this point, All
right, fair enough. Well, that's been the update of what's going on in the world. What's going on with the Good Sugar brand, and then we'll get out of here.
Well, I'm excited. As you know, a big part of what I do is I'm trying to be in the food and beverage business, plant-based smoothies, juices, soups, baked goods, food, snacks. We had Juice Press for almost 9 or 10 years. I exited there in 2019. Didn't skip a beat. Spent the last 2 years planning, building the next thing. And the thing that we have, I say we, I mean me. Good Sugar is the new name of my brand, and I do anticipate getting to a smaller chain. I don't want to be as massive as Juice Press was. It was too complicated, too difficult. But we have a store up in the Upper East Side is going to be the first store that we're working on right now, and it's going to be amazing.
That's great. I'm excited for it.
And by the way,
a logical ETA.
What I'm doing with the baked goods, I'm doing with people like you in mind, which is if you said to yourself, you know what, this may be high in calories, but if you had the banana bread that I make that has no processed sugar in it, it's just all natural sugars that occur in banana, for example, and there's no white sugar, there's no white flours, it's all just really high quality flours from almond and things like that. It's a meal, half a meal, and it gives you that little texture, that feeling that you need so that you don't feel like you need to jump off a bridge.
I always like to have that feeling. All right, thank you so much. And ETA, realistic ETA.
Wait,
a month?
You know what? No.
3 months?
Hell no.
6 months?
It's usually, depending on the complexity of the build, which I'm just getting into right now with architects and things like that, it's anywhere between 4 and 5 months. Luckily, because of the devastation of COVID and what effect that had on retail, landlords in New York have been very, very reasonable. So we're getting 7 months free rent in this location. So, between permitting and approvals from the co-op board and blah, 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 it's like 4 or 5 months to build.
All right, so maybe early January.
Wow. That's a terrible time to open.
All right. Well, this has been the Good Sugar Podcast. Follow me over at I Am Ralph Sutton. My other show, the SDR Show, comes out twice a week on all platforms. And you can follow me, as I said, at I Am Ralph Sutton. I'll ask Marcus, and again, he will have nothing to promote. Go.
No, I do have something to promote. We talked a lot about diet today, and I think the book, The Good Sugar Diet, written by Marcus Antebi, forward by Jeffrey Mechanic, covers this stuff with much more precision, A to Z, about diet, about habits, about psychological components, about why meditation can work to help a person to gain the control that they might be missing with the food choices that they make. And also a big section of the book just talks about what food is supposed to be, because a lot of people are confused with that. So I am promoting that book.
The Good Sugar Diet, available online at Amazon.
I'm not going to tell anyone where to get it, though.
Smart. Good business practice. All right, we'll see you next week on GSP.